Gail, so by the way, it's good to see you.
Nice seeing you.
So you have a big job and working with our schools and principals throughout Placer County. As you heard all of the business leaders speak today, and I know that you're at the table with employers consistently and constantly, do you feel like educators in Placer County are sort of tuned into industry and employers and where they're going and what their needs are?
I do, and when you made your last comment about educators, or sometimes we think we don't talk to maybe employers, I did give you a little bit of a glare,
yes,
and you self-corrected, so I appreciate that.
I'm very glad that Amy is between us.
Yes,
so
I know you well enough where I was like, so I will say that, one of my passions, and one of the things that I talk a lot publicly about, is when we talk about workforce, a lot of people always focus on higher education, and they always forget the K-12. I mean, we are an instrumental in this particular process. When Barry is trying to attract businesses to come here and relocate here, they want to make sure that they have a robust educational system, not only because they're going to create a pipeline for potential future employees, because also those employees want to send their kids to high-quality schools. And if you're not a high-quality educational system, they'll move elsewhere. And so for the last 15 years, I feel like I have to keep beating that into people that, we're an instrumental part of this process. We look at K-12 education historically. We have had, in the last 10 years, really expanded our opportunities as to provide career technical education opportunities for our students. Historically, you go back 20 years ago, the whole idea was if you were going to go into school, that you needed to go to a four-year university, and you need to get a college degree, and you can be employable anywhere. We know the pendulum has kind of shifted now, and so we do have a section of our students that do go into a four-year institution, a university, but we do have people that go into an AA or an apprentice program, a certificate degree program that actually have very high-paying jobs. About maybe 10 years ago, there was a concern because at our high schools, we were offering maybe a computer science pathway. But there were no really jobs here at that time that our students could actually take. So they would have to leave, go to college, or go to the Bay Area. So educators were we need to figure out what's happening locally. So we look at our industry sectors, and we've done a lot of work for a lot of time to determine what are really the real industry sectors that are driving the economy. One of the reasons why we had the Great Recession that we had a hard time coming back from is the two industries that were hit hardest were construction and government, right? And so those took a long time for our region to rebalance. But still, the fact of the matter is construction is still an industry driver in our area. So is healthcare, so is IT, and healthcare. Some of the largest employers that we have here in the county are Sutter and Kaiser. So our schools, I'm going to shout out to Oakmont High School here. Oakmont High School has a long-standing health career pathways where they take kids who maybe don't really know what they want to do when they graduate from high school. So maybe they become CNAs, maybe they come from botanists. I actually remember a student who was a 4.3 GPA kid who was like, I'm going to medical school, but he was enrolled in the health career pathways at his local at his local high school. So it's those programs that we have continually offered to make sure that whatever we do as far as a pathway leads to an actual job here in the community. We don't want to take our talent and educate them and then send them off to the Bay Area, send them off to Austin, send them off to Denver. We want these kids to stay here in high-paying jobs and be a vital member of their community.
Fantastic. Thanks. So, Amy, I'm going to turn to you. So, the favorite topic, and I'd like to sort of have a conversation amongst us. It's the soft skill challenge. So, we probably had the panel the most animated, sort of talking about that issue. And there's probably a reason for that. Now, you've been at the forefront of trying to address that. What is Sierra College doing in that space, and how big of a challenge is it?
It's still a challenge. This has been work I've been working on since 2012. I was a co-creator of New World of Work, which is 21st century skills. So started this work working with employers, and we heard it on the last panel, and we hear it every day. So it comes down to soft skills, which are evolving too as technology evolves. So a lot more around adaptability, the ability to learn. to learn on the job as things change. And so we do have a course at Sierra College, and it just got rebranded to Essential Skills. So that is embedded in several of our degrees and certificates. And we also embedded, first of all, we have an amazing faculty here at Sierra College. Many of them are here today. So thank you for our faculty members that took time out of your summer to come today. That really speaks to your commitment. And in our CTE program specifically, all of our faculty have worked in industry, and so they know firsthand what are those soft skills that are necessary to succeed on the job, and they embed that into their classes, into their curriculum, into their work. I know in our mechatronics program specifically, they put in problems embedded into and they do teamwork, so they embed problems where teams have to figure out how to fix this automation program together. This is something that would happen on the job. So this is something we're aware of. I know our faculty are, their number one priority, their measure of success is our students getting high quality jobs. And that's, what makes them the happiest. I mean, they love the graduations, but it's when the students go out and come back and say, hey, I got this job, or I got promoted after 2 years and I'm making, $125,000 with a, associate's degree. So our faculty are very in tune to that and embed that into the coursework. Also, any opportunities for work-based learning, so that could be internships, it could be students working while they're going to school. So we're looking for that as well.
Okay, great. So Gail, the soft skill challenge, how much of that is, sort of talked about in a focus of for educators?
So the soft skills challenge has been quite some time historic. That's not new news for us. Mm-hmm. I remember I have a very bright, outward spoken social butterfly child, and I have a very shy child. And I remember when we met somebody very important, I looked at my shy child and I said, you're gonna shake his hand, you're gonna look him in the eye, and you're gonna say, hi, nice to meet you. And I explicitly had to teach my youngest child how to, for a 5-year-old, to appropriately interact with this particular individual. Aside from that, I think having internships available where students can go and the employer can see, whether or not you want to take a risk on employing this individual, whether they get an AA degree or whether they have a high school diploma or a certificate. The internships is a great opportunity. It's like a test run. I have a niece right now who is in the construction field, and she's doing an internship, and she knows that this is kind of it's a two-way street. She's interviewing the firm kind of quietly, and they're kind of interviewing her quietly to see if it's going to be a fit. So I think whenever we have internship availability for our students, it's a great opportunity. I will say that we all experienced an incredibly traumatic event in the last couple of years. We all suffered through a pandemic, and that was trauma. Whether you lost somebody who is close to you, whether you lost your business and you had a financial hardship, or whether it was just your daily routine was upended, that in itself is trauma. So we globally experienced a traumatic event. The level of socially emotional concerns that we're seeing in our schools is off the chart. We have anxiety at an all-time high in our schools. We have schools that are investing in wellness centers and socially emotional supports to help children. I had an opportunity to meet somebody the other day, and they said, my 19-year-old can barely hold a conversation on the phone because of the level of, well, first of all, 19-year-olds don't communicate by phone, but still. But still, I think we really have to understand that we have some healing that we have to do. And just because we opened up that in itself was the beginning of the healing, but that wasn't the entirety of the healing process. So we may have to at some times, say, and I'm an employer too, and I employ everybody of the civic generation, so the people that are getting ready to retire, and then these 22-year-olds or 21-year-olds, and it's vastly different how they view work, and they're all about what's the work-life balance for me, and they don't have the loyalty necessarily to an organization that maybe a civic, somebody who's in their 50s and 60s really is loyal to a company, and therefore if something doesn't meet their needs, it's fine, they'll hang out because they are loyal. So, we have to shift with kind of the generation here, but we have to recognize that we have a high level of socially emotional trauma that would still need to be healed.
Yeah. So, workforce is probably a misnomer when we call it. It's such an abstraction. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about people that go through life. We're a mess of wet wiring and history and challenges, and we kind of need to meet people where they're at, especially coming out of a pandemic.
So I'm finishing construction on a new building here in Rocklin, and we are putting in wellness rooms in my office where you have soft lighting and it has soft music and comfortable seating, so that if you need a timeout, like a mental health timeout for 20 minutes, you can go into the wellness room. The wellness room, and my employees sometimes are asked, can we get massage chairs? And I'm like, no, that's going too far.
All right.
I'm Generation X. That is too far. So, but I do think that, employers are going to have to figure out how they, and we pivoted to, telecommuting, and I was surprised. It was actually quite successful. We now get job applicants that will say, I want to telecommute. And we're like, we serve children and families, so you can't do that from behind a computer screen for most positions, but there's some positions that you can. So I think that today's youth, they're very savvy about what they want in an employer to meet their needs, not how can I meet the needs of the employer.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah,
Just
please.
30 seconds. So a lot of these kids are walking into employers too and going, what are you doing about climate change? And can I see your HR policy? So the top companies, when you see these companies moving over to what they call ESG models, it's because if they want to get the best kids out of the best universities, these kids are like, I'm not going to work for you if you don't have a plan to remove your carbon footprint. So every single major employer in the world, including Bosch, has a zero carbon footprint objective, and it is largely driven by their institutional investors who are requiring it, and because if they want the hotshot kids coming out of the good places, they're requiring it to work for them. So it's an interesting, this is what labor shortages and big technology shifts have done. My first job is, would you like to go to Youngstown, Ohio? I love Youngstown, Ohio. I don't know if you've ever looked up Youngstown, Ohio, but nobody should go to Youngstown, Ohio. But they gave me a Chevy Celebrity, and I was like, I'm going to Youngstown, Ohio. If you're going to give me a 1984 Chevy Celebrity, I will be in Youngstown. That's a big difference now with these kids.
Thanks, Barry. Evan?
Well, yeah, not to pile on, but I think as we think about things like trauma from the pandemic, more demands about work-life balance, socially and environmentally responsible, there's also all the demands around problem solving, thinking about AI and other ways that our workforce is transforming more quickly than we even understand right now. And I think we're at that moment where our ability as a workforce to adapt to what that's going to look like is absolutely critical. So that piece of problem solving, I would really emphasize that when it comes to even soft skills and how we're thinking about it, because I think what we have as humans is human intelligent soul adaptability. How do we ensure that that we are developing ways of working alongside machines that is value add? Not to be dire about it, but I do think those people who can best utilize the tools around AI are those that are going to be most successful in the workforce. So I think there are a lot of big societal challenges around workforce right now, and that is certainly one that I think we're really staring down the barrel of.
Yep. Ron?
I'll just add, in terms of the changes in the generations, and as people retire and we get new people entering the workforce, there are differences between the generation. But as an employer, I think it's very important for us, especially representing business, to also work with our businesses on being able to understand their culture and how their culture adapts to the different needs. Because I feel like with the younger generation, when you really understand their needs and you're able to provide to those needs, actually their loyalty does kick up pretty quickly. I mean, I work as a nonprofit, and our pay scale is probably not as competitive as where private employers are. But it's a culture that retains our employee. It's the work environment that they have that's satisfying their need, and their loyalty increases. So I think it's very important for us as to look at ourselves as employer when we convene those industry collaborative. And we face those challenges a lot with the hospitality industry. Hospitality is a tough business. They have a lot of entry-level position. But how important it is for our youth that are entering the workforce to actually have one of those jobs and be able to increase their customer service skills, increase their problem-solving experience. I have a 17 and a 16-year-old, and my 17 works as a hostess at Bennett's. That experience is giving her a lot of the soft skills it's going to need. She has an interest in law school. She's probably not going to remain in the hospitality sector, but that is teaching her customer service. It's teaching her problem solving. It's giving her a lot of the soft skills that are going to prepare her for her next journey. So I think it's also important to look at organizational culture within our employers to see how we adapt, really embrace our workforce, and be able to deliver great outcomes for our companies.
Mm-hmm. Eva?
So I just wanted to add, as somebody that graduated college about 4 years ago, I just started my professional career, right? So I think a big thing that was touched on a lot about adaptability is for the younger generation, we grew up with phones, right? We grew up exposed to the whole world at our fingertips. And I think that that created a very person-centered type of individual, somebody that's very focused on causes, like what Barry said, you know, what are you doing about climate change? What's your HR policy, right? And I think in a way it's, you know, young people trying to make sense of the world and trying to serve a greater good, right? So that's important to them. Mm-hmm. If they're going to apply for a job, they want to do something that they feel like it matters. And, you know, so many of the employers here have roles that are doing things that absolutely matter, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that focusing in on that message is so important, and really saying, you know, not only is this job going to be high paying, not only is this job going to set you up for a successful future, but you're going to be doing something good. Mm-hmm. So
something meaningful. Yeah, outstanding. Are there any questions in the audience? Okay, so we're bringing up the lights. If you do have a question, look for Jerry or Josh. Jerry, it looks like we have someone.
Hi, Sarah with Golden Sierra Job Training Agency. My question is directed toward Gail specifically. Is there space in the curriculum at the junior high or high school level to address career readiness, but in essence, we keep hearing these soft skills? Is there space in the curriculum already, or potential development opportunities for that in the curriculum for these current students?
So many of our high schools and our junior highs do a high level of career development. And even at the junior high school age, you'll hear from our colleagues this afternoon specifically about the programs that they offered. But like in junior high, they'll do a lot of career explorations. We work, in public education, we work on soft skills all the time. We don't call it soft skills. I'm not aware, my colleagues who actually run the actual school districts may actually know. I'm not aware of a particular curriculum that teaches soft skills, but, you know, being on time, showing up, you know, being a team player. I will say that is a skill that I think is much more able to be adapted, is the ability of our youth now to work collaboratively in teams. They've been working collaboratively in teams in an educational setting for a while. And so when they get into the workforce, if there's, you know, a collaborative nature to the job, I do think that our youth have been skilled through just the process of education to adapt to that quite well. I'm not 100% filled that there is an actual soft skills curriculum. But yeah, it's a question to ask. I think you have, Carrie and Roger today?
There is, as you look at your agenda, we're going to have a lot of the leaders from K through 12 here with us today, and you'll have a chance to ask that question then as well. So thank you very much.
I wanted to add something on that, Bill.
Yeah.
Don't separate soft skills from technical skills. Take, the backbone's technical expertise, technical skills, and then run the leadership or soft skills experience through the technical teaching, right? So we did a digital upskilling program. Google's talking to us about $100 million. And basically we did a Google certification for people in underserved backgrounds. We paid them $15 an hour to train them. We gave them a computer. We gave them $2,500 if they got the certification. We had a 93% completion rate and 100% job placement rate, almost 50% above the average wage. And these were folks from the zip codes that are being left behind. So the lesson in that was, how many of us are being paid here to be today? And then when we try to get someone from an underserved background into the middle class, somehow they're supposed to, while they're food and housing insecure, magically elevate themselves simultaneously, right? So we need to figure out a different way to do that. And by the way, we literally cut the cost of training in half for them from the typical training program, and they received 50% of the benefit in a direct financial contribution. So I think, but one of the things I saw, and they had Google trainers. So when they walked in the door, these people have their act together, right? Too many times we're putting people in front of people to be trained that really aren't trainers. It's just that's where they got their hands on the grant. I always talk about the Sacramento Employment Training Agency, which is an agency I would, quite honestly want reformed, if not imploded. I always ask every elected official close to the Sacramento Employment Training Agency, if you lost your job, would you go there to get on your feet? If your kid lost her job, would you go there on your feet? Absolutely not. Then why are you running all the poor people in our town through a program like that? So if you wouldn't do it, if you were knocked on your backside, or if you wouldn't send your kid there, if your kid was jammed up, then why are you sending all the poor people in our community through these soft programs that don't have real outcomes, that don't treat them with respect? The training program sets the limitation for the trainee. And we took those same folks out of that neighborhood. I got a long training, and we put them in front of Google people, and guess what they acted like? They acted like they were Google executives because they had a Google experience. And they got certifications I could never get. Google said it's the most effective use of their certification. That was their CEO, and they've now put $100 million on it. I got to raise $35 million to match it, so that's why you haven't heard about that. But you got to train somebody for where they want to be. It's not our job to determine what their ability is. They have a right to fail on their own. So you give them the chance to be the best they can be. If they don't climb that ladder, then they didn't climb that ladder, but we all know they can. Right? And then two, that soft skills got to be the experience inside that training model, or otherwise you're going to get heavily weighted on soft skills, and being able to write a resume in an interview doesn't make you a welder. And it's that technical skill that's going to get you to 28, 30, 32, 35, $37 an hour.
Okay. Evan?
Well, I'll jump in, and this won't be a surprise to Barry because we've argued about this before. But, speaking of our workforce training systems that we have here in the region, first of all, there's a diverse variety of programs offered through SETA and their partners. That's the Sacramento Employment Training Agency. And I also just want to note that meeting people where they are when it comes to training needs, soft skill needs, and even just addressing basic needs, getting people workforce ready, it's a big investment. It's a long job. It's not an easy 6-week program. That's not to say there's not a lot of people from our disinvested communities that wouldn't benefit and be successful in a program like that, but there's also many people in our community that need significantly more investment than what short-term programs can offer. So I think there's a variety of services that are needed in our community that are met by our educational institutions, by our workforce boards, and by our community-based organizations.
But you can't spend $42,000 per skill. That's what gets back into the efficiency of it. And then this is where Evan and I, it's not my place to sell somebody who's not at a living wage what their potential is. I'm going to lay that out for them, and you watch them go get it. And the one thing that you see all across this community and all across this country is you see immigrants building great companies. And a lot of the people at the top usually start at the bottom. Very seldom do people at the top stay at the top. They might get a trust fund or something like that, but when you see somebody at the top of the food chain, Gary May, His dad delivered the mail in St. Louis, chancellor of UC Davis. Luke Wood was in and out of foster homes and was suspended 42 times his senior year, and he's the youngest president in the Cal State system. So somebody, you got to lay that up here and let him go get it.
Okay, so Sierra Workforce Summit, bringing the heat. We've got a little controversy going on here, right?
Bill, can we break away from that? There's one point we didn't touch on.
Yes.
I think there's one point, and I just want to mention, like, as a business community, we're talking about other challenges also that are that are facing certain communities, right? Transportation, childcare, and other challenges that are barriers to employment. So I know we're focused a lot on the training and the soft skills, but also looking at other challenges and barriers to employment, and really hearing about the great work that Sierra College, like the partnership that you have for transportation for students, to be able to get them to come to campus and take those trainings. I think we really need to look at a broader kind of picture too, and see where those challenges are also playing into this whole landscape.
Thanks, Rana, for raising that. It is a big, complex landscape and we need to sort of look at all points and sort of address it. So let's end here. I'm going to ask both Barry and Evan to comment on this. You both sit in regional organizations with multiple counties. We know that economic development and workforce development is regional. It has to be. That Sierra College students both are employed outside of Placer County as well as students from outside the area come to Sierra College to be educated and for them to find careers. We're looking for a little bit of community pride here. So when you look across the other counties in your region, what is different or remarkable about Placer County, do you find? Whoever wants to go first?
Well, I can go first and just know that, first of all, I think Placer County is our fastest growing. The economy's growing fastest here. We've got just tremendous employment growth here. So when I look at the whole region, and we've been working with the Brookings Institution to do a lot of data analysis as part of the California Jobs First, We Prosper Together program. Placer County is a shining star and a real economic driver for our region. I know that Sierra College is seen also as a shining star in terms of our educational programs and the ability to be adaptive, be innovative, and really be pushing the boundaries on workforce challenges. So, the other thing I would note is the entrepreneurial network. We've got the growth factory here. So just so much of the economic driver of our region is happening here in Placer County, and that's really apparent. And I think our ability as a region to, bring others into that growth as well, and that means system partners have to be responsive to that. We have to listen. We have to collaborate and find partnerships, and we have to really think about how do we use that momentum here to make sure our entire capital region is that driver in California and is really the picture of sustainable, inclusive economic growth for our state and our country.
Yeah, Placer County has a higher standard. It's a higher ethos, a higher standard, and a better culture. The same stuff that's going on here can go on everywhere, but it doesn't. And the one thing, she's a young apprentice coming up in Placer County out of Auburn. She's pretty talented, isn't she? This is a Roseville Chamber president. She's pretty talented. There's your superintendent. She's pretty talented, isn't she? And not the fact that they're all women. There's still some room for us. But, and I say this all the time to other communities. If you've worked at Gloria with Placer County, you've worked with the best economic development director among all the counties. If you work with Dominic and Melissa, you know how the city's supposed to be run. If you want to see infrastructure, walk around here. If you want to see community and standard and enthusiasm, it's in here. And it's got to be everywhere regionally. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to a standard. And that's what we've tried to do at GSEC. We've been rated number 3 in the world twice as an organization. We have a very high standard. There's 50 COs on our board. Standard, 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 standard. Someone comes to the door, train them to work at Google. Right? If you got a job opening, go get the best person. Really highly sophisticated, talented people, they're a little difficult to manage. But if you want a high standard and you want a great outcome, you'll learn how to manage really smart, independent, complicated people. you know. And I think the bottom line is Placer County has a vision and a standard for itself, and when opportunities arise, they step in and fill those standards. And that's really the most important thing that separates Placer County from other communities. And those other standards are coming up now. You know, it's happening it's happening in Rancho, it's happening in Elk Grove, it's starting to happen in El Dorado County. You're seeing it in Yuba County. So what happens is people learn from each other, right? Someone sets a standard, then someone can come in and say, well, gee, that's how I'm supposed to operate. And then that person goes here, and then you go here. It's like Sierra College. I'm not joking. I'm going to shop Sierra College to the other community colleges and go, why are they doing this, and why are you doing that? And why are they up here, and why are you down here? They're in the exact same market you are. They have the exact same set of resources. They have the exact same set of complexities. Why are they here, and why are you here? What does Riverside and Oakland and San Francisco want to do? They want to create a Greater Sacramento Economic Council. They're calling me. Well, that's because we set a standard. And when you set that standard, it's a law of attraction. You draw more people with that standard, and your outcomes come up higher. And so congratulations to everybody in Placer County and all the communities in Placer County for that standard.
All right. Thank you all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Can you join me in thanking our panel once again? All right, I think we're all moving stage right. Oh, okay. Then, thank you. Well, I need that direction too, apparently.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to leave them in the Wolverine den for just a couple of minutes. I actually have a funny story about that. Some of you might have been in the room at the time. You guys all know, we've heard a Stingers Up reference already today. Robert Nelson, got everybody saying Stingers Up when he was president of Sac State. Only if you ever went to a meeting where Robert Nelson did that, he would literally scream it, turn red, Sac State is #1, Stingers Up, right? So I will not do that, but I will say we are the Sierra College Wolverine, so claws out. And I think a claw might beat a stinger any day, so. I want to comment just on a few things. I'm going to take a little prerogative because such great conversations today from all of our speakers. And I made like a million notes here on this one little card of things I want to cover. And I won't cover them all, but just a couple of things. First, thank you to our economic development leaders seated here. Barry really said it at the end. We just have such a high standard of leadership in our county. And every single one of these individuals seated here, whether they're just Placer County based or regionally based, are partners with us. And I learn something from these leaders every single day. So it's just great to be able to work with folks that know what they're doing and that really are willing to share that information and partner with us. And I think that's one of the things I would add that makes Placer County such a unique environment for business and industry and a high standard is the willingness to collaborate and partner. I grew up in Bakersfield. And I can tell you when I first got here to Sierra College in 2011, one of my biggest comments I would make to people is, wow, you guys all work together. You want to work together. It didn't happen where I grew up. Kern County, that did not happen that way. It was a lot more like fighting with each other, right? Everybody's trying to get up on the other instead of working together. And that culture exists here. And so I really, really do appreciate that. A few comments. Lance did a great job setting us off today and talking about manufacturing. And I just want to comment really quick on, Sierra College, about, 8-9 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. I can't figure time out anymore since COVID. I mean, those 2 years seem to disrupt all my concept of time. But we made a big investment into advanced manufacturing. We created an advanced manufacturing lab, and at the time, it was the most advanced manufacturing lab in California, and definitely in the region. And we did that for a purpose. Advanced manufacturing labs are expensive to put in, and so community colleges typically don't put them in because of the expense. But as we were looking forward and as we were looking at the job market and where the labor market data was showing us, advanced manufacturing was the way things were going. That is the direction of the future for us. And manufacturing includes a lot of different industries. The silicon, chip manufacturing industry is part of manufacturing. It's a specific component of it, but a high-tech component. And so those are the kinds of things that we have tried to do over time here, some of them with a long investment timeline. But looking out into the future to try to see what's going to happen. So wanted to comment on that. And then Elizabeth from the railroad, I'm not sure where she's sitting, somewhere up there, but asked a question of him and really asked, and the railroad is one of our largest employers in Placer County. And so as she's looking for talent, she asked about schools and how they get connected. And you're going to hear more about this with our last panel with some of our education leaders. But Sierra College has a dual enrollment program in every single one of our high schools. And our high schools are partnered directly with us and in a much deeper way than we've ever been connected. And I'm really proud of that. And I think we can leverage that engagement and connect business and industry into that process so that we've got everybody engaged. And Barry mentioned that we are working on the creation of, for the lack of a better term, a German apprenticeship model. And I've talked to some of our high school leaders about this. They're very excited about it. There's work to be done to get it off the ground. Bosch is very excited about it, and some of our other business partners are excited. But what it really means is starting training, job conversations, internships at a younger age to try to get students at a younger time period in their lives thinking about work and what they want to do. And so I think we have a real opportunity to do that. What we need, I think, is business and industry to participate in that with us. So so if you're thinking about that, if you own a business or you're in an industry in which you need workforce, think about connecting with Sierra College and connecting with our high school partners so that we can create that internship network so that we've got opportunities for students no matter what they want to do and where they want to go. They've got a place that they can go and they can connect in and they can learn about that job and industry. And then, Ryan Ronco mentioned the conversations that we've had about a public employment hiring center on the college campus. And this is a very interesting idea that Placer County has brought forward. And I think it's fantastic. There are lots of county and city jobs in our community, and a lot of people don't think of that as a place where they can get employed and where they can work and have a high wage. And so I think if we, to me, I think that's a great idea and a great thought process, and we'd be willing to partner in that way here at Sierra College. And then Tim Sisson from Train is going to get us a van. That's what all I heard him say. Sorry, Tim, I didn't hear anything else. I just heard you're getting us a van, so I'll be following up with Tim to find out when our van's coming. And then some of the other comments I heard today, thinking about, you guys talked about it, and others did too, thinking about young people today, what they are looking for in an employer. It's a different time. And young employees are looking for different things from their employer. But they also, they want to be engaged, and they want you to engage them as a business and industry. They want to feel part of something. And I think that's really important. I actually think that's very positive for the future of work and the future of our economy. And so if you're a business leader, you've got to think about that as you're hiring young people into careers, into your companies, and how you're going to engage those individuals. And then the last thing I'll comment on, and then we're going to break and we're going to be right on time for lunch, is this concept of not everybody needs a 4-year degree. And the College for All promise in many ways hasn't worked, right? Largely because of the high cost of a 4-year degree. Many people are overeducated for the job they're in. If you look at the job market in the U.S., it's somewhere between 6 and 7 jobs don't require a 4-year degree or higher, right? So if that's the case, you can't tell everybody, just go get a 4-year degree and it'll all be okay. You're going to put that degree to use. It will not work. The jobs don't exist that way in our economy. You certainly can, I mean, I'm not going to denigrate a 4-year degree. It's been great for me, right, and in my career. But it has to be purposeful and with meaning. And so I think there are many things people can do in which you can get a certificate, or you can get a 2-year degree, and you can move into a career that then allows you to figure out what you're doing, what you want to do, get your feet underneath you, earn a living wage, and you can always get that 4-year degree if that's what you want. At that point in time, and have it be purposeful. Just degrees without purpose are really meaningless. And so, I mean, I want everybody to get a 4-year degree if that's what you want and that's what you need in your career, but there's lots you can do without a 4-year degree. Okay, so we're going to take our break now. We're going to give you about 30 minutes to eat. We've got food outside. There is seating outside if you want to walk over under the tables over there. You can also, if you want to stay inside, these first 10 rows here in the theater have little the little pull-down things, and you can put a little table in front of you. And thank you to Chick-fil-A for providing our lunch today. And then we'll be back here in 30 minutes, so about 11:45 to 11:50. We'll have our local high schools. I didn't excuse you yet. I mean, is this like class, you know? The teacher didn't say time to go. We'll have our local high schools on a panel, and then we're going to hear from Todd Trotter, who's the Senior Vice President from Northern California Human Resources from Kaiser Permanente. Okay, now you can go get lunch. Thank you.
Kind of a nice